Archer Bridge, as you know.
We thought we could do it on our own. So yeah, that was very funny.
That $70 million, if we can take it off your platter and put it over in the private sector, we sign a lease for 50 years, our checks don't bounce. And all of a sudden, we are answering and keeping this building, as you said, Mayor, you don't want a bunch of.
Oh, there's a floor that we need to review. That's why we need to be strategic as to which floor we do. We're the one that needs to have now, do it now.
Yeah,
Right, so we gotta be, over, and that's like my name, otherwise, where we're gonna get, we gotta stay, where opportunities are.
so she asked me to, if things get to me, then CC her, because this whole alligator, so the joke Jerry may not get up here this week, but, the one else will work for you.
I put a complaint into the disability commission. So what that shitty building is.
But,
Is that
so
share
it's like-
something I can't share a meeting.
You gotta let me know, so yesterday, I think she likes Mark because he's French, but calling for him. Reached into Mark, she's getting complaints this pickleball week of it, like. And Sherry and I had said, we are either running a recreation center up there, or we're running an emergency operations training center, like we're into block training.
Did you hear the news this morning?
No,
The Mayor came and did a deep shit because she used her superpowers to beat a pickleball court up and do
Baseball.
No,
Beetle?
yeah.
Yeah.
He wanted-
Stop it?
Yeah, no, to stop it, because the tenants council wanted to put a pickleball, this is when, it's funny when she chooses that example, she
She should use America's for super, powers to Beetle.
Yeah.
Ball and baseball.
and, I mean, so and she said, because there's 100 people in the gym, that they should be putting the money into a food bank, like, the conversation I'm listening to, really thinking, okay, this is so bizarre, I don't think that's what superpowers are supposed to be.
No.
I think it's lawyers and chief would say, doing an emergency training center, doing a pickleball, but
Yeah.
pickleball is taking over the world, of course, you play it.
We
good leaders. Thank you very much. Alex, you'd like to be called? So welcome to Sudbury and welcome to your first official meeting of our Police Services Board. We're very blessed with a very good board, some very dynamic individuals and leaders, and we seem to do pretty good to help GSPS. So Matthew, you have a motion?
We want to make for the media chair for Caleb to come back.
Coming out of the camera, don't you?
Yeah, but okay. Today's closed meeting, the board dealt with the following matters, discussing and approving confidential matters pursuant to sections 44(2) D and E of the Community Safety and Policing Act.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor, it's carried. Forche?
Do you want Barb to start?
Yep, Barb. Hello, Barb. How are you?
Hi Barb, welcome.
Hello, everyone. Hello, Tyler. How are you? Good. Member Forche?
The Greater Sudbury Police Service strives to build positive and respectful relationships with the original inhabitants of this land, including First Nations peoples, Métis peoples, and Inuit. It is in this spirit that we, as a service, honor and acknowledge that we serve in this land that is cared for from time immemorial by the Anishinaabe people of the Three Fires Confederacy. We further acknowledge this land as the dish with one spoon and the Robinson-Huron Treaty Region. In peace, our first duty.
Thank you, Member Forche. Matthew has a good pair of ears and eyes, and he knows who's in the room. We do note that Member Sizer is not with us tonight. Declarations of conflict of interest. Hearing none, we now have our annual experience of board elections, which according to our tradition, at this point, I will turn it over to Matthew Gation to monitor the election.
So as the board knows, we have to, per the CSPA, have elections each year for our chair and vice chair. So I'm now calling for nominations for chair.
Happily nominate Chair Lahi to continue the good work.
Second that, third that.
Hearing no other nominations, Chair Lahi is nominated. Do you accept this nomination?
Yes, thank you.
Thank you. No other contenders. This position is acclaimed.
Thank you. Just a bit of due notice, though. Thank you for the vote of confidence again. Appreciate the board, as I've mentioned. I've sat on many boards in my life, and I think this is one of the best boards I've ever sat on. So thank you for your contributions. I will give due notice today. This is my last year in this capacity. I do not intend to run for the municipal position next year after the elections. So that we be aware that there'll be a new municipal person, and hopefully Mr. Poland and Ms. Forche will become the chair and the vice chair. Now we need to have a motion for the vice chair. And does anybody want to nominate Sean Poland?
I do.
Right? All right. We have a duly motioned Sean Poland. Is there any other nominations? I declare nominations closed, and by acclamation, Sean, welcome back as the vice chair.
Thank you.
So we've done our ritual, so thank you all very much. And thank you, Matthew, for supervising that. A few months ago, actually, I think, Tyler, you asked me this several months ago, is the board going to follow up with the IPV information and exactly where are we in as a community? So we're very lucky today to have a tremendous advocate and good spokesperson with regard to the experience of local issues. And I've invited Barb Ridley, who is executive director or CEO? Executive director of Cedar Place. And I've asked her to give us a 10-minute presentation and an update with regard to IPV situations in Sudbury. So,
Barb, you can join us right here if you'd like. Just come and sit at the table.
Right here?
Yeah, for sure.
For sure. Thank you.
We usually have a podium, but we won't make it that formal for you. Join us. Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
please,
So,
over to you, Barb.
thank you. So I asked Jerry how I'm supposed to introduce myself to you and how I am supposed to actually speak to you. And he said just to call you friends. So I'll just call you friends. So friends, I thank you for this opportunity to speak with you about Sudbury Cedar Place and the issues of homelessness, coercive and intimate partner violence. I'm honored to represent the women of our center and the families that we serve, both in our home and our community, who have so often not had a voice. I'm presently the executive director of the Salvation Army Sudbury Cedar Place, and I have worked both in the community and in hospital settings, providing training across the province on the subject of women, addiction, mental health, trauma, and intimate partner violence. At Sudbury Cedar Place, we provide housing to 28 women and children. Each night, our beds are full, and we have been operating at over 100% capacity. The biggest predictor of homelessness amongst women is intimate partner violence. Nearly all the individuals that we serve have experienced coercive behaviors and intimate partner abuse. I do not need to share with you the increasing demands that has placed upon the police department, and of course, the similar trends across the province. The Ginevra House here in Sudbury is mandated to serve those who have fled intimate partner violence. Sudbury Cedar Place is supposed to house women and children and families who are homeless. But what most people do not know is that when a woman arrives at our door, about 98% of the women and children who have been in our home have suffered coercive behavior and intimate partner violence. So those that enter our door undoubtedly, without question, have struggled with this particular item. These acts become particularly egregious when children are involved. I think of Mary, who finally dared to leave her partner after 10 years of extreme isolation from family and friends and the continuous daily rants that she and her children suffered. Try to put yourself in the shoes of one of our women whose partner calls them sluts and idiots and threatens their lives on a regular basis. These rants, this coercive behavior, poisoning the air to ensure that the family members stay in this toxic environment. Sadly, Mary arrived without her children, wrongfully believing that she would not be able to provide for them financially. All she knew for sure was that she was fearing for her life. I'm proud to say that on November 7th in 2023, the city of Greater Sudbury unanimously voted to join over 60 other municipalities across the province in declaring intimate partner violence an epidemic. In Ontario, coercive control isn't a standalone criminal offense yet. Still, it's recognized as family violence under the Federal Divorce Act and the Ontario Children's Law Reform Act, requiring judges to consider it in family court decisions pertaining to children. It is a basis for restraining orders under the Family Law Act, even without physical abuse. Legal reforms are now underway with proposed federal legislation aiming to create a specific criminal offense for exercising coercive behaviors to control intimate partner relationships. But that law is yet to happen. The World Health Organization identifies IPV as a major global health concern. And as you know, it affects millions of people and can result in immediate and long-lasting health implications. However, women experience this form of gender-based violence at a much higher rate than do men, most often perpetrated by men. Coercion behavior and intimate partner violence creates generational trauma. And as the police board examines what can be done and the opportunities that you might have to advocate and to push for change, I would implore you to advocate for the re-examination of family law. Children deserve their own legal protection, and we would encourage the creation of a standalone law that further punishes the coercion of children through threats, manipulation, intimidation, and isolation. The Salvation Army, that's me, advocates for a root cause approach, strongly supporting and promoting preventative and systemic change. Concurrent with legal changes, there needs to be a substantial investment in educational campaigns that teach and include our youth and adults about healthy relationships, consent, and the challenging, harmful gender stereotypes. I want to see men and boys involved in prevention education that aims to change attitudes and their behaviors. Additional funding is needed to develop partnerships with social and legal services providers to empower individuals with the knowledge of these laws and how they can seek protection. We are desperately asking for increased investment in housing and social service provision so that survivors and families can receive dignified, appropriate, and timely, robust manner service. The women that we serve ask for these services to be centralized to improve access, safety, and a rapid response. A community hub model would be supported. I think of Susan, who arrived at our shelter with a lack of knowledge about her rights and that there were even services for her, totally unaware that a shelter existed. She represents the thousands of women who remain hopeless in the face of ignorance. It is an incredibly brave act for a woman to seek support. Healing from coercive and intimate partner abuse requires long-term and continuous support services, and there are not enough services in our community. Both Geneva House and Sudbury Cedar Place are at capacity every single night. Cedar Place turns away an average of 170 individuals a month. I don't know what Geneva House does. At Sudbury Cedar Place, we've been afforded a unique opportunity to invest in the lives of our women, children, and families, in that we've been able to secure a spiritual care provider who has been able to bring healing and encouragement and a sense of community into the broken and the tattered lives that allows support long after the woman and her family leave our home, increasing the ability to maintain housing and to support sustainable recovery. In closing, I would like to share a story of every woman and child who enters our shelter and has suffered from intimate partner violence and coercive behaviors. They're all hoping for a fresh start. The average length of stay has moved from 16 days to sometimes well over a year in the last 5 years at our home. The lack of rent geared to income or safe, affordable housing forces individuals to move out of the community into shared accommodations, sometimes returning to surfing the couches. And in their rush to find safe and affordable housing, many will find themselves back in abusive and financial unstable situations and once again returning to homelessness. The lack of appropriate housing demands swift and decisive action and support from the police board, including advocacy for capital investment to mandate, grow, and preserve emergency shelters, and to support deeply affordable, safe, including rent geared to income housing. I want to thank you, Jerry, and I want to thank you, my friends, to listening to my heart and the heart of every woman and every child who comes into our home. We're just funded for homelessness, but we do way, way, way more than that. Thank you for listening. Thank you.
Powerful information, Barb, and your passion in presenting it to us. We appreciate that very much today. And that's the information that I think we want to make sure the community knows and that our board knows. And you present us with a lot of interesting challenges about how we respond to that. But before I kind of have comments, I'll go around the board. Obviously, the person sitting beside you has a lot of experience with regard to family law. Do you have any questions?
Well, Barb, it's nice to finally meet you.
Thank you.
I used to practice exclusively family law, and I was involved in a number of high conflict custody and access cases. Your services, and I thank you for the work that you do. Your services have helped transition a number of families out of very abusive relationships. I agree with you. It has to be a priority. It's not only a necessity, it has to be a priority. We need more beds. I just think of the number of women that are left in those situations. I don't practice the high conflict litigation anymore, but I continue to be a children's lawyer and I represent children in high conflict situations. So I see it on a daily basis, and thank you for all the hard work that you do.
Here.
Thank you for your presentation. You raised something, talking about the community hub model.
Yes.
Can you provide us with other communities that have this
Yes.
model and how that's successful, and why do you think we should be obviously working towards that here?
First off, it's what I hear from the women themselves.
Okay.
They want something that is local, that everything is in one place where they don't have to go and find piecemeal solutions and assistance and help. From my understanding, there are a number of hub models that are around the province, and I think it would do us well to look into those and to replicate them as much as possible, because there's nothing as debilitating as moving from place to place, getting bits and pieces and being sent here, from over here, from over here. How nice if you can just go into a place and all of the services are there, your legal services, your financial services, just, your everything.
A one-stop shop.
A one-stop shop.
Yeah, we've been talking about
Yes.
that in this
Yeah.
community for many, many years, and
Yeah.
the deputy comes from
Yes.
Peel region, as you know, and years and years ago, Waterloo was one, and we say it was the mecca for intimate partner violence, because they did have, a one-stop shop. And we say that about many of our kind of community needs that we see, and because often they just get bounced around, right, and don't have the ability, or get misinformation and go somewhere only to find out they're not supposed to be at that place. So wouldn't it be nice? Yeah.
Wouldn't it be nice?
Let's pick up on, wouldn't it be nice? Who should provide that leadership? Where does that begin? Because we got a great presentation this morning, but out of this presentation, as you know, folks, my favorite word is deliverable. And do we have a deliverable that kind of makes the hub something that we can get reported on every meeting?
Yeah, well, so the mayor and I co-chair community safety and well-being. The deputy and has a team, I believe we're looking for the Ginevra House to take the lead. You had a meeting last week, so.
Yes, so of course, we're looking for all the relevant engaged stakeholders and partners. So I can formally say to our community, through the guidance of our municipal community safety wellbeing leadership panel, leadership circle, that we have been working in the background tirelessly to come up with building those relationships and those networks and partnerships. And I know you and I had met, so I could introduce myself and we could discuss what future possibilities could look like. We just had a meeting last week to start setting what our project management Q1 through Q4 would look like, and we're in the process of organizing ourselves accordingly to include a steering committee. So we've been working really hard in the background, amassing network, connectivity and communication with our broader provincial partners. The Greater Sudbury Police, through Community Safety Wellbeing, is part of a national network of safe center hubs throughout not only the province but throughout the country. And we've been in initial discussions to provide a really strong platform for us to grow and flourish from the future, and trying to set something up like this within our community. But I'd like to just remind this table and remind the community that this is not a sprint. These types of projects are very complex, involving a very complex network of public sector and community service organization partnerships. And some of them are not at this table today, but you are a great voice for that. And thank you so much for your presentation. And we are moving forward with great passion and enthusiasm for our aspirational vision, not only here at GSPS, but also under the Community Safety and Wellbeing Leadership Circle, and also the community to build exactly that in our community.
So not a sprint, but it has to be at least a walk, Deputy. So I guess the question is, I heard a lot of, we're going to do this and we're going to have a panel and we're looking at advisory. Do we have a calendar that says by March, we'll have the advisory panel. By June, we'll have the meeting. Like, do we actually have this structure in place?
At our last board meeting, the last two leadership circle meetings, both the chief and the mayor have asked for that information. We've had a draft I'd say, project management plan that we presented to our initial committee. And it's a great first version with very reasonable, smart, realistic goals and dates set. Our first two, I guess, steps in moving this forward is doing the one-on-one calls to those that will be forming the steering committee from within the community. And those are coming, as well as a needs assessment. But at the committee level, a needs assessment cannot happen through the lens of GSPS. It really has to be through the lens of our really strong and experienced community partners. So those are our next steps.
So the answer is no, you don't have a calendar. Like, do we
Sorry,
have
I said yes. I had a calendar that
60
say
days, 90 days, what's the calendar?
Q1 goes to January, March, end of March, we'll have the steering committee up and we will have a needs assessment.
So who's sitting on that steering committee, deputy?
The steering committee is right now with major public sector partners. We had our initial meeting, and I'm going to refrain from mentioning who's on the steering committee because those phone calls have not happened yet.
So we don't know who it is. They haven't agreed.
We know who they are.
But they haven't agreed. So you really don't know who it is until they agree.
We have had some initial conversations with those partners, but a formal phone call and reach out has not happened.
Okay. Member Poland?
Just if you need help with the steering committee, I would volunteer myself as well.
Thank you so much for that, Krista. I appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah, I think, Deputy, again, this board really wants action. We've done that in other issues, homeless issue, drug issues, and the IPV was challenged several months ago. And what I'm hearing from Barb today is very familiar with what we heard a few months ago. Looking at today's board book, it says, and Jerry's here, but managed and fully investigated 511 IPV calls and conducted 56 IPV related arrests. This is a problem. This isn't some philosophy. This isn't some process. This is something very bad in our community. And if we're not addressing it, then it's time to address it, simply put. So,
And we are addressing it. And this is just another layer here, of course, the dedicated unit shows, that GSPS is taking this seriously. And this is through the community safety and well-being, pillar here, led by the mayor and co-chaired by me now. And the deputy has had, again, through HSN, through the city and Tyler Campbell, there are people at the table wanting to move this forward.
but as long as we can move it forward, Chief, I think the thought is, it's like anything, there's always good intentions. All right. And there's good intentions to have a lot of problems. If I was one of those 170 people that got turned away on a monthly basis, I don't think I'd care about your good intentions. I'd say, what are you doing for me? I can't.
Yeah. And this is not a GSPS
No.
initiative. So we'll be clear on that. We need the community stakeholders to be there with us. As Barb indicated, this is, a very wraparound, wholesome, holistic approach. And so we're just there trying to get everybody.
But if memory serves me right, this board passed a motion with regard to go to the province with regard to the fact that if the government would declare this as an epidemic, there would be more resources. I understand that in fact the government has resolved some of this, and they actually do have a policy now that came out about 2 or 3 months ago. So it might be worthwhile, Barb, all of us, to take a look and see exactly what the government has come up with. I'm not sure they've agreed to the word epidemic. I think they use the word systemic. But I think it's something to kind of get the foot on the ground and start moving. That's what I would say. Now, I haven't let my vice chair speak, so Mr. Boland, you've had your hand up.
As always, you pick my key data points that I like to underline.
That's why you're the vice.
That 170 people turned away per month is troubling, I think, to all of us. So much of this issue is troubling to all of us. I'd like to thank you for your passionate comments. And I'm wondering, I don't ask this very often, but if you would be comfortable sharing your words with Matthew, there's some pieces in there I would love to reflect on further. Thank you.
So, Barb, do you have any suggestions for us?
Anytime you have the opportunity to advocate on behalf of homelessness, domestic violence, intimate partner violence, there is a difference, of course, and coercive behavior. It's something that is often overlooked. especially when we're dealing with children. So, and again, those are all different pieces, but even though we're mandated just for homelessness, it is not what we're doing every day. So thank you very much for listening to me.
A previous conversation that you and I had, Barb,
Yes.
with regard to actually the presence and the effectiveness of GSPS. And I think you were pretty positive about what the chief and their team is doing because Inspector Wilmot is here. But do you want to make any comment about your partnership with regard to GSPS?
Police have been very good. I mean, with us, I mean, coming quickly when we've called, and we have had to, unfortunately, but even though I think we do incredibly well with a very volatile group of people that we often serve. The other thing that is heartbreaking, I guess you could say, is the number of calls that we do get from the police on a pretty regular basis asking for room, a place to put someone. And of course, it's always the same. I'm sorry, we're full. It's, but we've just had nothing but the greatest respect for the police services. And I'm very excited that there's a hub possibly coming in and opportunity for us as a community to stand together, even though it's not personally my mandate. It's certainly where my life has been in the past, and certainly it's something that is just existing because of the nature of homelessness with women. It is the number one cause of homelessness with women is intimate partner violence. That's why we have 2 shelters that are full. So thank you very much.
And I think it's also a blessing, Barb, that we have the mayor sitting on our
Yes.
board because Paul is, again, a doer, and Paul definitely has heard you today. He's obviously sitting on panels, and I'm sure that information will be followed up in a good, positive way there. So thank you for listening.
Thank you, Barb, very much.
Thank
Thank you,
For all
Barb.
the work
Good job.
that you
Appreciate it.
do.
Thank you, friends.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Everybody.
Thank you, Barb.
Thank you.
Good day.
Bye.
So moving right along, we have our consent agenda, which we have a motion that we're all agreeable to. Is any of the board members in reviewing your board book have any questions or comments about the consent agenda? Hearing none, it's been moved and seconded. Matthew?
The Greater Sudbury Police Service Board receives and or approves consent agenda items 8.1 through 8.5.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor? It's carried. The appreciation letters are in there, and I would draw it to the board's attention that we in fact pay attention to that. In fact, Officer Rob Speck is actually getting a thank you letter with regard to his information about drugs. And again, as somebody who's attended PIA meetings and has property downtown, I know that the business people have been very concerned about drug use, so it's nice that Rob got that acknowledgement. So Cecil Facer is actually in our consent agenda too. And as I said to the chief, it's a nice letter. I'm not sure it really addresses some concerns, but it says they will be.
I may want to provide some information on that. I met with the Solicitor General when we was at the Roma conference. We went to a municipal law. That was one of the topics that I raised with him. Season Facer and yeah, their timelines were that they didn't have any timelines set up yet. They knew they want to transition to an adult, pretty much penitentiary. They're looking at, so they haven't obviously developed and following on a plan what they're going to do with the youth segment. I certainly expressed to him that there are concerns of having youth, somewhere else. We're on the hub of the north. When it comes to the northeast, we want to have that youth center as local as possible and not in another community anywhere else. So it was a good conversation, but I'll just put it on the radar for him. He was aware, but we got to keep advocating that if they want to change the building at Cecil Pacer, well, there has to be a plan of what we do with our youth. So just want to let you know there's been advocacy made, and
Yeah, thank you. And I heard you mention that on Tuesday night at the city meeting. So through you, Chair, it is a good letter. They do speak to the point that again at the OACP and through the Ontario Chiefs, we've been advocating on those high risk offenders that should be incarcerated, and the province is trying to increase capacity for adult offenders. So we've just, as you know, closed out the year end, and through Inspector Ornella, we are keeping track of how many transports we're doing out of the province. As this board knows, we do get a prisoner transport
Out of the community.
out of the community, sorry, out of the community, like I'm not a province yet. But we do get an offset from the ministry on prisoner transport. But of course, every year annually, it's more. So we will prepare for our next board meeting what 2024 looked like, and we'll continue to monitor on a go-forward basis.
The chief and I talked about this on Monday, and we'd like to see that comparative because it's a substantive fund that allows for the transport. But then it's in our report, by the way, guys, if you read the report, there was an individual brought to Thunder Bay on a plane with chaperones, and then there was a weather issue for another individual going to Brampton. And this does create a resource drain. So rather than just talking airy-fairy, my comment to the chief was, could we get some comparatives and see exactly for the amount of money we're given and the amount of money we spent, is there a balance to that? And if there isn't a balance to that, who pays the difference? So the chief is going to have that for our March.
Currently, we do.
Yep.
So I know some other police services in the recent board meetings have highlighted this, so we will for our next.
And I sit on the provincial group for boards as well, and I think it's an issue, as I said to chief a million years ago, because I am old and decrepit. We had the issue of travel grants for cancer patients, and in fact, it was a shortfall, and inevitably we had to address that to make sure people were properly compensated. So not necessarily a police example, but there is a government example that you have to be able to move these people safely without bankrupting the cancer system, people personally, but with police service boards, we're spending money that we don't need to spend. So we will have that for our March meeting. Going now to our discussion agenda. Chief, prepared and recommended by you for secondary activity.
Yes, our annual report through you, Chair. As you know, under the CSPA, the board will receive an annual report as it relates to GSPS members engaging in secondary activities or employment. As you know, many of our members, whether it's volunteering, you'll see volunteer firefighters, or we have members teaching at Cambrian College through the Police Foundation. So all of these members have to put forward, as per the Act, a request through the Chief's office, and you'll see the number from 2025 of our members either volunteering in the community or working as an umpire or a referee. So those have all been approved.
And my comment to the chief, wanted to highlight, obviously, we got a really good sworn officer who chairs Vickers, and that's really important. No, not Vickers, I'm sorry, Sudbury and Area Victim Services Board of Directors is the chair, which obviously is very important to our community, and that's a sworn officer.
Yeah.
So
Since 2017, this member has held that role.
9 years, so that's wonderful. Continuing education update.
Yes, again, just a highlight, you'll see the year to date. We did report at the December meeting. There was one member that wasn't approved. It was a late submission in December, so we've added that. So this is the full 2025 year report. Again, there is procedure that states it, has to be in line with professional development, that it relates to their jobs here at GSPS. And we do have quite a few members that put forward for professional development, and that's outside of the training that we give. We have members working on their master's degrees and whatnot here in the organization.
And for board arithmetic, if you add the 1,200 to the 3,600, we're in line for the amount of money that we should have spent in 2025 opposed to 2024. Any questions to the chief about education? Krista?
Nope.
John? Paul? Nope. That's all for information. More information. Delegation and signing authority, chief.
Yes, you will see here just some things in between board meetings that we acted on. Two that I want to highlight. Well, one is the Axon agreement from last month. As you know, it was simply a revisal to our existing contract, which I signed on behalf of the board. But the one here you will note is the 59,000. So it's a thought exchange software. And I want to highlight it because this is our second year using this thought exchange platform. It has allowed us to engage with the community in relation to the board's strategic plan. We did, as you know, a bit of a touch point with our community, see where we're at. This platform allowed us not to go out and source another. We've previously used, oh, Matthew, remind me who we used last time?
Oracle
Poll. So we are able to do internal surveys that are helping with our, internal culture, getting feedback from our members. Through Inspector Ornella, we just did a great touch point with our downtown business partners, as well as those individuals in the downtown and over at Energy Court in relation to our 360 initiative. And so it allows us to gather data. One of the things that many of our grants are asking us for now is community surveys. So we're hoping to offset actually some of this in some of our grant applications because the ministry is asking us now to have, public feedback. So this is a software that we're using, felt was really important, but our return on investment has been substantial on this one. So I just wanted to highlight that for the board.
Forte, any questions?
Nope.
Poland, Fave, we're on a roll here, Chief. We're going to the reserve fund.
Okay, so, I don't need to highlight here the donation reserves for the board. But again, the Chiefs Youth Initiative, we do have quite a bit of money in that fund. I really like this one because it does have our school resource officers, our CSP youth, our community engagement section working with these youth. So often we get asked by, community partners, but it doesn't necessarily have GSPS at the table. We give out funds to support youth in our community, but I like this one because it'll have our members engaging with youth. And again, a very good partner of ours, which is the YMCA. So they're asking for $2,500.
This one we have a motion on, Matthew.
Yes, the board authorized the donations reserve fund request as outlined in the report and approved payment in the requested amounts.
2,500, just to remind everybody, is our max under our new policy. Any questions?
I just had a quick question. I'm curious, as we see this, so this is going to support, but is it more for the youth, maybe that don't have the money to pay for their entry?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Again, there's parents that can afford to send their kids to these types of camps, but some that cannot.
Yeah,
So this
so-
money directly, and the YMCA is the one obviously identifying.
Yes, and oftentimes through our SROs. I know this week, I'll just quickly highlight it, will be a next board, but we kicked off our lacrosse program on Monday night. 40 youth registered, either identified through Chicago McQuay or the Swalco Friendship Center or our SROs, youth in the schools that we know won't have an opportunity, to enroll in the sports. And Vice Chair Poland was there and lots of smiling faces. So this again, they usually ask us for recommendations, same with Shop with a Cop. It's through our school resource officers. Yeah.
In our basketball program, we had a lot of people there that would not be at a basketball camp if it wasn't for the money that came from here. And I think we ended up with 22 kids on a regular basis. But what I thought was most interesting, Paul, the parents showed up. Like the single moms and that, they were all around the gym and they were so pleased to see their kid playing basketball with a cop. So there's the intangible and then there's the tangible. So this
Transformational often for these kids, so it's key that we support this one.
For sure.
So we've had a motion, moved and seconded. Any questions about it? All those in favor, we're going to give the Y the money. So let's talk about the next reserve fund request. And I think there's an addition to this one, Matthew.
Yeah, the chief
There is
that
an
last minute, and she has that. We'll have to review that.
To you, Chief.
I will just note for the board, you will see that our board trust fund is sitting at about $8,300. Again, we've talked about this. We're not seeing money come from our auction or seizures. We do have an auction coming up, so there will be ebbs and flows, but we'll just continue to monitor how much money comes out of this reserve fund and maybe look at other ways of
So help me a little bit.
money.
Is our advisor here, Tom? Yeah,
Tom
Tom's
is
here.
there.
So at one of our previous meetings, we had this discussion whether we could roll it together. Tom said, no, that's not a good idea. We need to keep the two funds separate, which is fair. So at 83, we're going to go down another couple thousand right now. Okay. So we're down to 63. And, back being, again, old and decrepit, I went to the bike auctions with my dad. Everybody's going to buy a bike at the bike auction. look at it. The online thing, I don't understand. I have a hard enough time ordering a pizza from Skip the Dishes, so I definitely couldn't buy a bike. So telling you all of that, it's the issue is when we run out of money, is it done? Or do we just hope more money comes in? Because you just used the word or others. Can we have a fundraiser for this fund?
I don't believe so. I'd have to look at our
That's what-
bylaws. Again, this fund comes from donations. We're not seeing donations the way we used to see previously.
Yeah.
As you know, there was a donation made by a family through an investigation years ago, and that was specific. That's being used for the basketball, right? So when people make donations, we used to have the Lions Club used to make an annual donation to the police service. We're just not seeing that anymore. So really the revenue for this fund comes out of our auction. And again, our auction, it's an online auction. It's a platform that services are using across the province. We're just not seeing people buy, police seized equipment anymore.
So Matthew, Vice Chair Poland and I did go through the accounts. So should we try to liquidate, there's still accounts out there, they're the money sitting in the bank.
Yes.
We decided to leave it there for different reasons. Should we be doing another review in 2026?
I would suggest, yes.
Okay, so make a note of that, Matthew. Sean, you and I'll do that. Okay, sorry, go ahead.
No, okay. An annual event that we participate in every year, either through our ITSU team that's out there, but it's the coolest night of the year. Of course, this is, I think, well deserving through the Samaritan Center, helps fund some of their programs there. So would highly suggest supporting this one. And then this one is one we've never received, but exciting, is $600 in support of the 2026 annual meeting for the Police Pensioners Association. So retired Constable Grant Howard is the president of our and Vice President Joanne Pendrak. So we will host that, and so they're asking for $600. And then lastly, a new one that has come in, Matthew, today. We did support Kyle last year. Kyle Chandler, Constable Kyle Chandler works in our intelligence unit. Kyle is a very high-level curler. He, as this board knows, last year received the Rick McDonald Memorial Award for his fundraising for Mark Hoving on the island. Again, a curling bonspiel he has there. So Kyle will be attending the Northern Ontario Curling Provincials in representing Team Ontario at the Canadian Police Curling Association in Sault Ste. Marie. He's asking for $500 from the board.
Board members, any comments, Krista?
No.
Sean?
No.
Paul?
The board authorized the board reserve trust fund request as outlined in the report and approved payment from the requested amounts.
All those in favor? Just a little correction to the chief. The Samaritan Center is for the rent. So the landlord is Samaritan Center, Elgin Street Mission, Blue Door, Teen Challenge, etc. pay rent to the Samaritan Center. By supporting the coldest night of the year, they can reduce the rent so that those nonprofits don't have to pay as much money. So anything that you can get to get pledges, a bunch of groups pay less rent to the building. So, Mr. Gation, you have your report.
Yes, right there for the board's information. A bit quieter as it's year-end holidays. Sat in on a legal matter for the board. Start of the year here. Been participating with the chair and member Sizer in our ongoing bargaining. The CAPG staff and chair meeting happened last week, and we had our year-end finance updates to the city. Those have been done and sent over, so they have those to do their year-end items. So free. If they have any questions, happy to answer.
Any questions to our administrator? A bit of reminder, Matthew, has everybody signed, they've reviewed our code of conduct?
I have yours, and I believe I have Sizer's. I'm not sure if I can.
So before January 28th, folks, we all have to sign that we reviewed our code of conduct and that we can continue to sit as our GSPS board. And it's a very significant document, well, 1,000 pages, and it outlines all our good works, that we have to have good moral character. So think about it. Then sign it.
Who decides that good quote more ourselves? That's
All sign for it. All right,
I think I need a coffee.
we're good. But I think you wanted that reminder, because it said we had to do it by the 28th.
No hard date, but just we like to do it anyway, just to refresh everybody's memory on the code of conduct.
Just threatened me with the 20th. All right, so we are now to the report from the chief.
Thank you, Chair. We'll start off with our community safety and well-being section under the supervision of Inspector Ornella. So you'll see that we spoke about this last meeting, our citizens on patrol. What we've started to do with our citizens on patrol to help the integrated traffic safety unit is, we get many traffic complaints, and unfortunately our traffic officers can't be all places all time. So what we're doing now is we're going out with a speed watch program, and again in our high complaint areas, and so they'll go out. They're not issuing tickets. They really are, a proactive, eyes and ears, and they report back to our traffic management unit. It's interesting because oftentimes, we'll get complaints that people are speeding, and they'll go out with the radar, and the average speed is 50 or 45. In a residential area, it looks much faster. So this is just another way to assist in our deployment. Again, crime prevention, all of that proactive. So kudos to Inspector Ornella and his team, for doing this and using our citizens on patrol in a very valuable way. As you mentioned, Chair, our out-of-town escort, we did have one. Of course, 2 special constables took an individual remanded to a youth detention in Thunder Bay. So to your point, flights, overnights, all of that. Next, our Patrol Operations Division and a report by Inspector Brown. You will see again our E-platoon, which is our non-deployable officers. Some of them can go out on the road, but these are sworn members, community safety personnel. We did, and this board approved us move to a new platform through Rubicon. You'll see the number of reports. Just in the month of December, 692. It is a much better platform than what we were using. It's very modern. It gives us better analytics, so we'll be able to report on that. Through Nathan's team, we're going to be giving, again, through Thought Exchange, a survey back. So we'll get some analytics on how our community is experiencing reporting online, because it is a platform that we continue to move forward to for certain things. And you'll see some of those things are shoplifting and retail thefts. So after the fact, often we'll get retail businesses call in and say there's an empty box on the shelf, or right, and so then it's video. We're not sending a patrol car to that. Our what we call our AWOL youth, and so these are repeated youth from group homes and whatnot. Sometimes we get 3 or 4 times in one weekend when youth hasn't come home, Thursday night, Friday night, Saturday night. We're not sending an officer every time it comes in. We do the reports through this team. So really trying to find some efficiencies, which allows our frontline patrol officers, to be more visible. That's what we want. We want them in the downtown. We want them, over at Energy Court supporting. We want them in your neighborhoods, and it allows them to focus on priority calls. And again, we're really grabbing some data and analytics. One of our highest is retail thefts. We actually have an LCBO project on the go, but we're also saying to some of our crime prevention teams, whether it's President's Choice, whether it's the LCBO, you got to help us help you. And that's at a provincial level. Next, you will see not only do we get impaired drivers through our ride campaigns or festive ride campaigns, but you'll see Inspector Brown is reporting patrol members arrested 28 individuals for impaired and laid over 50 charges. So those are sometimes targeted, waiting near local establishments or just out on patrol.
Question, Chief, to you on Monday was, and you're going to get back to us with regard to the 911 ECC totals 6,000 plus calls.
I did.
September.
Yeah, I have that number. Andrea Savage is not able to be with us today. And she did
For the
provide all of
benefit of the board, what I asked is that's what they had for December. How does that compare with November, or how does that compare with last December? Are we
Yeah.
up more calls, less calls?
So last December, we're actually quite down from last December. So last December was 8909. And you'll see this December was just over 6,000. And November was just over 7,000. So, year to date, we're, close, but we're down from last year.
But I think it's fair to say,
2024.
Chief, that you're implementing good things that are reducing the amount of calls coming into the center by diverting them to other issues. So in other words, it's working.
Yeah, 2,000 calls from
That's
year
pretty
to date
significant.
from last year. Yeah. So on a go forward, I have asked Andrea to be able to provide that data in a chart for us. Thank you. Next, and we've already spoken about this, but just some great things that are being done and we're putting in here. So what we did in last year, June. So we're doing a 1-year pilot. By all indication, it won't be a pilot project. We have a dedicated IPV unit, so a sergeant and 4 constables. You will see in this report the work they have done. Again, managed chair, you indicated 511 IPV calls for service. That's this unit. There are others, sadly, that might have got taken by patrol at 3 a.m. But again, and 56 IPV related arrests. So you'll see what it's estimated to have saved our patrol members is, just shy of 1,700 hours of officer, which again, what we're trying to do is get that visibility and that capacity back out on the road for our members to do proactive patrols in the community.
Board members, anything up till now that the chief's reported on? Anybody want to make comment, questions? I got to tell you, of the entire board book, this was the report that I thought was the most enlightening and also made me feel good that we are doing stuff. Again, back to the word doing. The saving of the hours was great. The whole issue about your 30 VCR interviews, which I got to tell you at first, I was a bit suspect. Are the women actually going to do this? Obviously they are. And then I liked the sentence that said, these early indicators support the continued operation and potential expansion of the IPV unit beyond the pilot phase. So to me, these 2 pages are just, this is the crappiest crime of all, as far as I'm concerned. Women getting beaten up in a relationship, and the whole issue with regard, there's actually an article in today's one of my news snaps that alcohol is a contributor to spousal abuse, and that's the worst drug in Canada is alcohol right now. At 79%, it's way ahead of cannabis, it's way ahead of all other drugs, and these people get drunk and they beat up their spouses and their kids. We heard that today. So this report to me is stellar, and I just hope, I know, kudos to you, my friend, that you continue this vein because you are making a difference. And I don't think the community knows that we're averaging over 200 IPV calls every month. I know when I talked to some of the local politicians, they couldn't believe that. They said, what are you talking about? I said, over 240 on average. And that's scary and that's not right. So kudos to you, Chief, and your team. And I understand those 4 constables and that detective sergeant are doing a great job. So
Fabulous job. Yeah. It's a great, just on a side note, development area for future, investigative work led by criminal investigations. I want to highlight, and through the deputy, we'll bring forward next month for the board this virtual choice reporting. The deputy, through a colleague in London, and Barry and other services that were using this. But we're going to bring some other stats as we know our geographical area. Just the number of kilometers. So not only is this unit using it, but we're taking, crimes from someone in Levack and Dowling where we're not sending, but you're having a one-on-one confidential face-to-face with a police officer and you're able to report. So hopefully, again, we're making great strides in this platform for us to be able to report.
Sorry.
Thanks,
no questions. Continuing, Chief.
Yes. You'll see, and we spoke earlier, you said about Rob Speck, who oversees our drug unit. You'll see through our integrated crime section, just a lot of great work being done. At 1960 Paris, we did a search warrant. You'll see the number of drugs taken off our street. Again, a large seizure below, a high-risk offender with $30,000 in suspected drugs. All of these drugs are being taken off our streets. And hopefully, we are saving lives by doing this. Drug trafficking leads to arrest and firearms seized. This is in our community. Unfortunately, these are the ones that we're able to make arrests on and hold offenders accountable. But sadly, there is way more out there. And we will continue to be diligent and work extremely hard in, investigating these and holding these offenders accountable.
Okay, Chief, can you trace that handgun?
We will, yes, yeah, it'll be sent, yeah.
Is it Toronto?
We don't know. It takes quite some time. Actually, we just got a hit back on one that we sent away some time ago, but it will be sent. Yeah, thank you. Jerry, Inspector Woolman, I don't know if this was yours because it's generally our corporate comm who does this, but hibernation is on hold as the bear unit strikes again. Is this you?
All Caitlin.
Oh, okay.
I liked it.
A play on words. I love it. So you see our break and robbery unit again. One of our vehicles was struck and hit by this individual trying to flee, but we were able to hold him accountable. I thought I would highlight that. That was a good one. Over to our integrated operations under Inspector Norman. Thank you for the report. You'll see again our year to date on our provincial offenses, not only our provincial offenses, but our Part 3 notices. As you know, a Part 3 summons has someone coming directly to court. Those are, stunt driving, those type of offenses. Our impaired driving, you will see that, again, we're out for our festive ride season. So, these are our numbers for the festive ride. And again, in December, we also had patrol members arresting individuals on impaired driving, but these are our numbers on impaired driving. You can see that our actual numbers of those individuals checked is down, but our impaireds are up. This, as the chair has asked at many meetings, and we continue to have this conversation, these ride results are shaped by multiple variables, the time of deployment, weather, visibility, all of that. So, not only is ride understood to be both a deterrent strategy, but also an enforcement tool. And we will continue to be out there. And unfortunately, individuals continue to choose to drive impaired.
So the Chief and I had a little visit of this on Monday, just to note that we checked 2,100 this year and 3,200 last year. We had 8 impaired with a bigger number being checked and 4 being checked with a lesser number. So I don't think that's a good indicator. The Chief and I, nothing we can do in this room, but perhaps education, perhaps the whole issue of just pointing out to people, drunk driving is unacceptable. And I think it also has been documented that people that drunk drive continue to drunk drive. And so again, that educational piece, maybe in the schools, back in the day when they used to have those mothers go and talk about drunk driving in the schools, I don't know if their education system.
Yeah, they still do that. They still do in May when proms are happening, graduations are happening. They do through the youth. Yeah, yeah.
So to me, that's a sad number. It's a sad number that because we're checking less and getting more drunks, it means more people are drunk on the road. So.
Yeah, and again, through Inspector Brown's area, just on random patrols, on a Saturday night, the amount that we arrested, it is, and we continue to work with our partners, Leslie Green at Safe Ride Home and education, and we'll continue.
Just, yeah, I look for it, I can't find it. EMS assist. Is that a number that we can get on a monthly basis?
Sure.
Give us some sense, because these are our paramedics responding to a call. You don't feel safe with our services.
Yeah. Yeah. And as you know, and not at this year's budget meeting, but previous budget meeting, and we reported on that. Yes. And through the deputy, and I don't know deputy where it's at, but and through Inspector Norman, we tried to do some, de-escalation training with the paramedics. Yeah. It's same with our friends in the ED, the same clientele. But unfortunately, our police service can't be in the ED all the time. We can also be going to all the calls with EMS. So we're trying to support them through initiatives and giving them tools in their toolbox. But we are there when they call. And our understanding, again, through our friends at EMS is, very junior staff. And so we're trying to educate them. But we can give that, yeah, for sure. Monthly.
Sean, you got anything?
No.
Moving on, Chief.
Okay. Again, and you can see all of this when you've read it all. So our K9 unit was busy. Our ERU supported in lots of high-risk incidences. And then again, my favorite part of the entire book is what we do, from month to month out in our community with our community partners. Good news stories. You'll see the launch of our polar plunge. My page is up if anybody's wanting to feel generous in supporting me and taking that plunge again. I also, maybe yourself, Vice Chair, you might want to join me at the side of the lake. I'm going to give the chair a pass. He's got a bum hip, but I'll put it out to.
Why not in the lake?
Oh yeah, well he can come in,
Oh,
join me
okay,
at the
good to have
side
friends
there,
there.
and
Exactly. Yeah.
and come in with me.
I was thinking I needed a chicken. Beef up the
Oh, you were
ante.
gonna do 2 chicken to plunge? Okay, that too.
Two chicken punch is going well.
It is going
Joanne
well.
told me that.
Yeah, and Superintendent Burnett's not here today. He's on vacation, but he is leading the charge, and we have some great sponsors this year. And we are always highlighted in the province for being the best, or one of the best in the province. Some of our staff here, again, did the because we jump right into the lake. Lots of them
yeah.
jump into like
Let's say what
a bucket.
Yeah.
Sorry to all the other chiefs in the
Our mayor's
province.
from Kapuskasey. Our mayor's
Sorry?
from Kapuskasey. This is like a shower for him.
Every morning. Every morning.
Shop with a Cop was just, again, fantastic. Thank you to Leslie and Junior. You'll see our latest graduating class. I was able to go down after our last board meeting on December 19th and see our new recruits. And they're back here with us. This Sunday, if anybody wants to join, is our law enforcement torch ride, our snowmobile ride. Again, we're one of the only services in the province to host a torch ride. So that goes out this Sunday. Again, we supported internally the Edgar Burton food drive. And then lastly, the National Ribbon Skirt Day. It was fantastic. So just lots of highlights here. And again, last but not least, Friday night, fire versus ice. We are 2-time, winners of that game. I did see the trophy coming in yesterday. It's been shined up, and Caitlin's put a lot of work into this. We're told probably over 2,000 community members will be there. So, hopefully if those who have bought tickets, buy tickets, and we'll see everybody Friday night.
Members, any questions to the chief about anything she said? I guess the reinforcement when we have our media in the room, also you continue with the whole issue of downtown, making sure it's safe and making sure Energy Court is safe. And that continue that you started, it was a 360, did you call it? Started in November. You're still continuing that, chief, which I think the community and the taxpayers are very pleased to see those results. I can tell you as somebody who has property downtown, I have seen a huge improvement. So thank you.
Thank you. And thank you to the team here, Inspector Brown, Inspector Ornelli, who have dedicated staff daily in the downtown. And again, just the more kind of things we put in place to be able to get our members back out engaging and not just responding to calls, proactively working, with the city's team. And supporting and working with the DIA, and we'll be ready, when we see an influx in the spring.
Any new business anybody wants to bring up? Maybe a little bit of a teaser, Caitlin. Caitlin has got a brilliant idea, so don't try to look off for a gala for the Youth Initiative fundraiser. Caitlin, likely at our next meeting, will have a brand new idea, and I think it's brilliant, and I think it will engage the larger community and the larger issues of GSPS. So Caitlin, as you know, the chief's told me about this. We'll keep it as a secret, kind of tease everybody for the March meeting, but I think you're onto a winner, so kudos to you.
More impressive than the chicken?
Yeah.
All right. Can't wait.
All right. Motion to adjourn?
Sure.
We're adjourned.
Thank you.
The old and decrepit, I think it needs to change to mature and bionic now that you've got
Mature.
mobile and bionic.